Saludos and salutations, Broncos country, and welcome to another exciting episode of Broncos Talk. Today, we have so much in store for you guys. Just to give you a little preview, we're going to talk about the Week 1 terrible loss that the Broncos suffered against Seattle. We're going to talk about what's going on with the offense after what we saw from an awesome preseason. What has been going on with the offense? Is it Bo Nix? Is it Sean Payton? Is it the wide receivers? We're going to dive in to try to get you guys some answers. We're also going to talk about the upcoming matchup with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, guys, have a seat, tune in, grab whatever it is you guys have next to you in terms of beverage or food, because here we go with another great episode.
Broncos talk, let's rock, feel the energy rise. From the microphone to the fans reaching the skies. Every episode, a thrill and surprise. For the love of the game, we harmonize.
You know, I spent so much freaking time and I still managed to mess up that intro.
It's I love that. I love that intro, man. It's such a groovy like song.
I cut myself off before the intro hit. So again, I apologize. I swear I'm going to have to take an extra 5 minutes trying to work that out. But anyways, guys, welcome one and all to another great episode of Broncos Talk. I'm your host, Adan Diaz, owner and proprietor of Broncos Talk. And to my right is my co-host, Ty Y, the fantasy guy. Ty, how you doing today, my friend?
I'm all right at dawn, hanging out, here with you. About to put on a good show, eating my candies, and we're about to do some Broncos talk. So I'm ready to go.
Yes, sir. We definitely are going to do some Broncos talk. But before we do, guys, we got to get some of these things out of the way as we do before every show. If this is you guys first time watching us here, thank you guys so much. We appreciate it. If you're listening to us after the fact, please make sure you like and subscribe wherever it is you guys get your audio podcast from Spotify all the way down to iHeart, Apple, Amazon, Google, all those good places. Please make sure 5-star reviews, subscribe so you get live notifications every single time we go live on the show. As always, if you guys want to hit me up on Twitter, but it's the same thing. Twitter, I have the same handle. You hit me up at a 6'10" Mexican. I'm always down and happy to talk about any and all things football, especially the Broncos, of course. For any business inquiries, you can email at broncostalk2020@gmail.com. Also, for those of you that don't know that are new to the show, please make sure you like and subscribe, share, comment on the Orange and Blue Network. Johnny and Isaiah have built this place from the ground up, and they're able to, and thanks to them, we're able to broadcast this show live for you guys on the air. And of course, we are in partnership with the MHRT Network, who I used to be a part of. And thankfully, I can honestly say, and I'm really glad to say, I'm back with Mundungus, because Mundungus is cool, no matter what anybody tells you. So make sure you subscribe and share to them, comment, like, tell them that your good friend Adan Diaz sent you over there on MHRT. This is a simulcast, by the way. So this show is airing on both networks at the same time. That's so freaking cool. I love saying that every week, I swear. So, and also another thing, before we get started, today's sponsor is Dubby. Ty Y, have you heard about Dubby, my friend?
Yes, I have. I heard about Dubby all the time.
Dubby is so cool. They have so many great flavors. They have Peach Beach. They have Galaxy Grenade, as you see here. They have, I don't know how to click. They have Dub Sludge. The great thing about Dubby, guys, is that not only does it come in a lot of great flavors, but even better, they come with no calories, no sugar, no maltodextrin, no fillers, and no artificial colors. It was formulated to give you focus and energy with no jitters or crash. Their formula contains vitamins, amino acids, and nootropics, including the patented formula. So, guys, make sure you guys go and get yourself a nice cup of W. I think it comes in a cup. I would imagine so. But thank you so much for W for being our sponsor for today's show. So now we are going to get to the reason we have gathered here today. Ladies and gentlemen, Ty and I were both wrong. We started 0-1 on the prediction episode of the Broncos winning their game against the Seattle Seahawks. So most of our show is going to be spent on talking about that. And Ty and I practiced backstage to make sure that we were not going to cry during this episode. But I can honestly tell you guys, look at me when I say this. Everybody in Broncos country is pissed.
Yep.
We all are. And every single show I've seen since Sunday, every single podcast I've heard, it's pretty much the same thing. Well, most of them. There are some of them that are already calling for there was one that I heard that was already calling for Sean Payton's head. But to me, before I pass it over to you, Ty, it was really disappointing. And the only reason I say that is because, yes, Bo Nix looked great during the preseason. Yes, Bo Nix lit up the field against second and third stringers, but it wasn't so much that he lit up the offense, Ty. It was the confidence that he had when he did it. Mm-hmm. And for me, that confidence was completely absent this past Sunday. And that's something that for me, I think that when Bo Nix saw that the defensive linemen in front of him weren't second or third starters, then they were first. And not only that, I will give Seattle their credit here, Ty. They came to play and they revamped their defense to an entirely different level. Their offense still broken. They got a lot of work to do on offense over there in Seattle, but defensively, they really put a hurting. They made it a bad day at the office for Knicks. Ty, your thoughts?
My thoughts on the game, man. Well, first, we talked about it on the post-game show, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I was very disappointed in the running game. I feel like Sean Payton didn't. I feel like everything went to Cortland Sutton. I don't know if that was on Sean Payton or if that was on Bo Nix or, you know what I mean? I've seen other people saying that too. I just feel like, I don't know if Sean Payton drew it up that way or let Bo have the reins and seen what he would do in his first official game. But I didn't like, he looked okay. I mean, the 2 interceptions, but like I said, the running game really let me down. And I just feel it wasn't all there. And I feel like it could have been a lot better. The game could have been in our hands and we could have won, but simple mistakes that they got to clean up. And I was very mad and upset, but not like I was last year or the year before. Mm-hmm. But I'm not writing them off. Like you said, he's seen some people say that. I'm not right. But like we said, this is a crucial game going into week 2. So.
Yeah, and before we continue going, we got to say hi to some of the people here in the chat. Guys, if you have any questions that you want me or Ty to answer as we go along, please put them in the chat. We're going to definitely answer them to the best of our ability as we go on through the show. And if there's something we missed or you want to ask us after the fact for the next show, please feel more than free to hit us up on either the Orange and Blue Network or at our respective Twitter handles. So first, we're going to start off with Shai Vargas. Shai, thank you so much for joining us, my friend. I saw you join us late last time, and I really do apologize, but we were so glad to see you. We did see your comment. I remember I saw it. And, you know, with Johnny's vision, I really hope that he saw it too. Man's getting old. But he says the Broncos offensive line needs to be better. You know what? The offensive line wasn't terrible as in years past, but I will say that they definitely were not expecting that. And see, this is what you guys have to understand about the offensive line. When Russell Wilson was our quarterback, the offensive line got so used to Wilson scrambling, even when the protection was perfect, you know? So to me, this whole thing is about chemistry. There has to be chemistry between the offensive line and the quarterback. The quarterback has to be able to trust his offensive line, know that when the offensive line does their job and gives him time in the pocket, that he makes the best of it. Bo Nix definitely showed off the nerves. He showed off that he's a rookie, with those 2 interceptions. And the thing that kills me about those interceptions, guys, before we continue reading down here in the comments in the audience, thank you, Shai, by the way, is those interceptions that he made are the exact same interceptions I would have made if I was playing in Madden. The exact same freaking thing, Ty. And that killed me because I was like, oh my God, I'm a rookie quarterback still after 10 years or so of playing Madden.
Yeah.
And I would have made the same mistake. So I don't blame him. Return of Swifty. This is a name we haven't seen. Thank you so much. Hope you guys enjoy. Welcome. And hope you enjoy the show. He says, yo, I like the Broncos and the Texans. That's nice. It's not weird to have 2 favorite teams, you know. The Texans. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Ty.
I was going to say, I don't have 2 teams. Broncos is my own team. But in the NFC, I like the Cardinals because of Kyler Murray. I root for the Cardinals in the NFC. They're not my team, but I actually ordered a Marvin Harrison. Well, I was going to order Marvin Harrison jersey. I ordered a Kyler Murray jersey. But like I said, I root for them. So,
you know what? I don't know if I would say I have a second favorite team. I'm Broncos, orange and blue for life. Yeah. There are a lot of other teams in the NFL I respect. None of them are AFC West competitors, obviously, but I have somewhat of respect for most other teams. You know, I live in Chicago, so I have some sort of respect for the Bears and what they're trying to do, because they're trying to do what 31 other teams at the same time are trying to do in terms of win a championship. But I can understand having an affiliation to not just 1 but 2 teams. Anything more than that is just kind of like, okay. And I'm saying in terms of saying that you like and support, and you know, instead of just saying you have respect like I do. That's what I mean by that. Dreamweaver saying, what up, Dreamweaver? Thank you so much, man. It was great seeing you back on the Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue podcast yesterday. I hope you're feeling better, my friends. And guys, if you haven't seen it, please make sure you check them out. They did pretty much a great recap of the week 1. So after this show, make sure you go on the Orange and Blue Network or MHRT, go back and check them out and see what Johnny and Dreamweaver had to say about week 1. So he also chimes in saying, we should be paying Cooper versus Browning, right?
I say pay both, in my opinion. I don't know if it's possible, but I want both on a team. I don't care what nobody says. I think Browning's just going to excel and get better as a pass rusher each year. Actually, even just this year, he's going to get better. Cooper plays amazing. He played good last year. He had 8.5 sacks last year. I personally would try to pay both and lock both up, but that's just me. So
yeah, I mean, they definitely made a good case to be heard this past Sunday. I mean, especially with the fact that, and you know, I don't wish injury on nobody, especially offensive lineman, their right tackle in Seattle, George Fant. Hopefully makes a speedy recovery. But unfortunately, that's just how it is in football. It's a next man up league. And Baron Browning and Jonathan Cooper made the best of it by putting on the pressure on Geno Smith. You know, Pat Surtain, we're going to talk about him a little bit later when Ty and I give our player of the week awards, which is something we're going to start on the show. Kind of like we do after the post game in terms of, you know, game balls, that sort of thing. But they're definitely both on the chase to be the number 1 defensive player in terms of trying to get a big contract. Because after this year, the Broncos will be a little bit better in cap space. Yep. So it'll be interesting to see if George Paton is still the GM next year, how he manages to fluctuate that money and move it around and make sure that whatever key pieces Denver still has stay intact to go into next year. Shai Vargas says, do you think Bo Nix will have a better game? You know, this is the question that a lot of people have been asking me for the last 3 days. And you know, I can, and you can say this about either one of those rookies, about either him, Jaden Daniels, or Caleb Williams. So I talked about this with my cousin. The biggest pressure is on Caleb Williams out of those 3, because Caleb Williams is the number 1 prospect. He's the number 1 pick. Chicago didn't even need a timer because they knew that was going to be their guy. So when you're the number 1 pick, like Caleb, everything is under a microscope. Every interception, which he hasn't thrown, so I'll give him kudos on that. Every overthrow, every missed play, every touchdown, everything he does from now till the end of the season is going to be under a microscope, and it's going to be either really good, mediocre, or really bad, and it needs to be tuned in that regard. So, and out of those 3, Jaden Daniels had the better in terms of offensive play. He had I think it was 2 rushing touchdowns, and I think he threw for 1, if I'm not mistaken. He had 3 on the day, and Bo Nix had 1. He had the 1 rushing touchdown. Caleb Williams didn't throw or rush for a touchdown against the Titans. So
That
the
defense,
thing, yeah, Ty, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that defense really helped him get that win. If it wasn't for that defense, Caleb Williams would have his first loss, just like Bo Nix. So, and I'm a Caleb Williams, I like him. So I'm just saying though, without that defense, he'd be 0-1 too, just like Bo Nix. So,
well, if it wasn't for a Baron Browning call, we may have been able to see what Bo Nix can do.
Yeah.
Under pressure. The Broncos didn't have any more timeouts. It would have been a quick, the 3-minute drill.
Mm-hmm.
Could he have marched the boys down the field and gotten a touchdown? So unfortunately, we were robbed of that opportunity, but I'm pretty sure in the near future we're going to get to see that again. And what I was going to say, Ty, and to our audience, the thing with me is that with every loss, with me and this is just me coming from my own personal opinion, mind you, is that I kind of look at Sean Payton a little bit like my eyebrow goes up, just like in my picture, because we all have to remember this is the team that Sean Payton built. He didn't want Russell Wilson in Denver. He convinced the owners to cut him, get rid of him. There's a lot of pieces that we don't have anymore because Sean Payton said, hey, if you want this team to succeed, if you want me to do what I've been paid to do and do it to the best of my ability, I need so-and-so to happen. Convinced, I'm pretty sure he convinced them, even though it was more likely his decision, but getting rid of Tim Patrick. As we clearly saw this past weekend, we have no clear wide receiver one because there were drop balls, there were missed passes, there were so much in, and it really sucks because Courtland Sutton is not like that. And to see him not being able to play to the best of his ability and miss those passes and not in the routes, and not see Troy Franklin out there. So it makes me question Sean Payton even more with going forward with every loss that happens, Ty, in terms of saying what are you going to do to fix it? Is how long are you going to hit that safety net of, Bo Nix is still a rookie? Because that safety net is only going to last you so long. It can't last you all season if these same mistakes keep happening, Ty.
Nope. You're completely right about that. And I agree with you. Like I said in the beginning, I feel like players aren't utilized. Like you're saying, my eyebrows raised every loss. Like you said, Sean Payton, he took over when it wasn't his team he built, right? So as you said, he got players he wanted. He got rid of players he wanted to get rid of. So this is his team now, right? He drafted who he wanted to draft, right? So, like you said, it makes you think every loss, is it going to get worse? In my opinion, is going to get worse and worse and worse, He's here, he's going on with second year, whatever. So, I don't know. It's just, and like I said, the utilization of players, I just feel, I know it's only game 1, but I just feel they weren't utilized correctly in week 1. I'm not a coach. I'm not a GM. But from what I've seen, everything went to Sutton. I know Reynolds had a couple. And Vele, but like you said, we don't have a clear really one either. So
editing core, this is a name I'm not familiar with. Thank you so much for joining the show. Welcome, my friend. Hope you're having a good time here. He asked us, what are our thoughts on the Estime scenario? Now, for those of you that don't know, before we went live on the air today, apparently Estime got hurt and he was only in for 2 plays. And he's pretty much on IR. So my personal opinion is that Javonte Williams was, as Ty put it to me before the show today, he was a huge disappointment. And I had him on my fantasy team.
Yep.
So I'm pretty sure I wasn't the only one out there in Broncos country. And Javonte was on almost every single analyst list of running backs to start. But again, that goes back to not realizing that last year, Seattle, if I'm not mistaken, was, I think 30 or 32nd in terms of rush defense. So they weren't good.
No.
And all of a sudden, now they are, and this is with a new head coach and no more Pete Carroll. Like I said earlier, The offense still needs work. Geno Smith kind of looks like he just had that one good year, and now he's kind of struggling. Yes, he had that run, but that was just a bad coverage play, and the touchdown that he threw was just to Charbonnet. That was also another just bad. Like, it was bad.
Bad.
I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. But see, here's the thing, guys. As great as the defense was and special teams as well in the first half, unfortunately, that's just gonna happen on the like eventually even the defense breaks, as great as it was. For me, I kind of felt like the defense they weren't playing to hold the lead per se, but they kind of just switched it around. And what I mean by that is the defensive calls, and maybe it was Vance Joseph, which I'm gonna say it was, like, he didn't adapt to the calls. If he saw that they were running the ball more, then they should have challenged them, because Patrick Surtain was playing really great coverage on DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf was pretty much obsolete all game. Riley Moss did a pretty good job, except, and I don't blame him for that last play where the Seahawks got the first down to end it. They weren't in that position. There's only so much you can do on man coverage in terms of running routes like that. And unfortunately, it is what it is. But at the same time, it was kind of like Kenneth Walker, instead of kind of like clamping down and stopping the run and letting your secondary, like, I don't know. Ty, what do you think?
They should have had, I think, 7 to 8, the 4 down linemen, and then they should have had at least 3-4 linebackers in that box at the whole time. Pastor Tank will hold his own. Riley Moss is playing great. You know what I mean? Then you have the safeties over top. Maybe have one linebacker go out. Like you said, with Kenneth Walker, I feel like nothing was changed either at halftime. Vance Joseph, I mean, we don't know what goes on in those locker rooms, but we can only guess pretty much. But I just feel like he kept the same thing the whole game, and maybe a different outcome would have happened if he didn't change anything, if he would have changed stuff. It wasn't good to see. It reminded me just like last year and the year before with stopping the run. And as you said about eventually the defense breaks, or however you said it, defense, also players probably get tired of doing all the work, and offense ain't producing, So the offense, even though it's only game one, offense needs to also step up too. If they play like that all year, it's not going to be a good year.
Yeah, Eddie Core joins in and chimes in again. He says he saw us on BR. He saw the advertising.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I guess he's talking about me on Bleacher Report app.
Oh, Bleacher Report. Sorry, he saw you on Bleacher Report. Saw the advertising, but he disagrees. If I'm reading that right, I don't think he is a disappointment at all. I think they really improved their game. Yeah, that's what I want to know. Who is the editing core? If you could relay to us who it is, you're just talking about, because I know we were supposed to be talking about Estime. And for those of you that are joining us for the very first time, as you'll understand as we go along, our topic just kind of flies all over the place. So, the Seahawks.
That's a good show, though. You know what I mean? So
yeah. So as much as I have always tried to keep an itinerary of things to talk about, unfortunately, it just kind of goes the other way. But to go back to our original point, the running game wasn't up to par. It wasn't great. The offensive line just wasn't able to get the holes open. Javonte Williams wasn't able to get the holes that he needs to, kind of break out and do his thing. I know McLaughlin had probably the better of the three, if I'm not mistaken, in terms of stats. Is it Bosby, who's probably going to take Estime's place in terms of running back 3?
No, wouldn't it be Dakota Watson?
Maybe. I mean, unless they pick up somebody else from like the practice squad that they elevate, but the Broncos have options at running back.
Yeah, they said that today though. They made Michael Burton to the full 53 roster. That's what they said.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that means, but they said they activated him to the full 53. So.
Yeah, I mean, the Broncos got off to a fantastic start. I mean, in the very first play against Geno Smith, throws an interception.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the offense stalls, settle for 3. And then they get a safety. the Broncos defense did. And then they went and got another safety, which is pretty much unheard of in the NFL. You rarely ever see a feat like that.
Yeah.
But the thing is that if you don't put your opponent down and you give them a chance to hang around, they're gonna take advantage of it. What's that old saying? If you give somebody an inch, they'll take a yard or something like that. So, going back to what you said though, Ty, about halftime adjustments, the Seahawks made them. They didn't make Geno Smith throw the ball as much. Kenneth Walker was just kind of running wild.
Yeah.
So it unfortunately sucks. And I hope that going into week 2 that the Broncos defense kind of I don't want to say play better because they played great, but when they have to take notice, especially if the calls are coming in from Vance Joseph, which I'm pretty sure they are, that if the adjustments need to be made, if the opposing offense changes from throwing to running the ball, then you get on your guys to stop the run, challenge the quarterback to throw the ball, let your safeties and cornerbacks do their job. So yeah, go ahead, Ty.
No, I was just gonna say, like you said in week 2, let them do their job. The biggest thing I'm worried about, not to get off topic, for week 2, I wanted to say it before I forget. I hope we can contain TJ Watt. The refs even apologized last week versus Atlanta. They called penalties on him, and they never should have. It's just he knows how to get off the line that quick at the exact time that the quarterback says hike or whatever. I hope our offensive line, either McGlinchey or if Garrett Bowles plays, whoever's there, I hope we can contain him. If not, I think it's going to be worse than last week with Bo running around. There's going to be way less protection. TJ Watts, it's a big threat this week. So
I don't know if you really. Oh, I was going to say you were literally frozen for that entire speech, Ty.
Oh, well, am I good now?
So far, I mean, as soon as you stop talking, it unfroze. So,
okay.
I just find that funny. I don't know why. It's kind of like
my internet's good. I have good internet. I don't know. Every now and then I get that little stoppage. I turn the TV off. I don't know.
But to kind of go back and talk about Bo Nix, a lot of people have already been, as you said, Ty. I haven't seen it yet, but there are people out there, Broncos fans in general, that are saying that the Broncos are going to be in contention for the number 1 pick next year.
Yep.
There's another guy who I'm friends with who just kind of already took a giant dump on Bo Nix, and like I just don't see how you can do that. I honestly don't. Like I get it. There was a comparison of CJ Stroud last year against the Ravens, and the Texans literally got punched in the mouth week 1 last year. There was that also comparison of John Elway, his very first year as a Bronco, 1983. Same thing. Played like complete crap, got benched, and then he went on to be one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time and the greatest quarterback in Denver history, in my own personal accord. But I'm not saying that that's going to be Bo Nix because nobody knows, nobody can predict the future. However, what we cannot do, and I say this to and I said it at the post-game show, Ty, what everybody in Broncos country needs to do is BREATHE, and that's just breathe. It's okay to be frustrated. It's okay to be pissed. And I said, and let me put it to you guys this way. Would you rather the Broncos have lost that game by 6 points the way they did, or would you rather have them happen to what happened to the Panthers against the Saints, where the Saints got completely blown the frick out in New Orleans? Or have gone like the Giants did against Minnesota. They were just like one more touchdown away from being completely blown out. But Daniel Jones looked completely incompetent as a quarterback.
He's not. Well, he's something. Man.
Like I'd much rather take this loss with the 6 points because at least they kept it close. Okay, and I'm not trying to cover for Bo Nix's mistakes. He made them. And they were costly interceptions, especially the one in the end zone. He shouldn't have thrown it to Cortland Sutton. He was like double, if not triple covered, if I'm not
It
mistaken.
was triple coverage, yeah.
Triple coverage. If he threw it under, the underneath route was wide open. Could have fought for some yards, even if that gets the kicker closer for 3. And the other one, I think it was to Cortland as well, the second interception?
No, I think that was, it might have been, but I thought Reynolds. I thought it was to Reynolds. I could
It
be
may
wrong.
have been to Reynolds, but yeah. So these are things that Sean Payton has to work with Bo in the production, in the meetings that they have, and they got to iron this shit and say, hey, look, you made this mistake. Here's how we can do to fix that. You made this mistake. Here's what we can do to fix that. As a rookie, he's going to make more mistakes, guys. And we in Broncos country have to understand this, because we were all pushing for Bo Nix to be the starting quarterback. We all were. So you can't sit there and tell me that you didn't want him to start. Those interceptions, I would bet money that those interceptions would have hurt more if they came from Zach Wilson or if they came from Jarrett Stidham. I'm not saying that they were going to make them, but when those guys throw interceptions, those hurt more, because those guys have been in the league, and you would have said to yourself, you've been in this league long enough, man. Like, how the hell can you throw a pick like that? You know? And I also said it before the start of the season. If the Broncos are not going to be a great team as we expect them to, I would much rather them play with Bo Nix, so that way Bo Nix gets those interceptions out. It might cost us a season, but if it means that next season we get to see the improvement we were expecting to see this time around, then hell, I'm all for it. What do you think, Ty?
I think that same thing you said. If Zach Wilson was in there or Stidham, people would have been pissed off. More pissed off with those throws. Like we said in previous podcast, like you said last week, breathe. We got it. Everybody, I said it too. You got to give Bo time. He's a rookie. He's gonna make the mistakes, as you said. Every rookie does it. Caleb he didn't make a lot of mistakes, but every rookie makes mistakes. I'm not writing him off. I won't write him off. I want to see him play the whole season. Anybody to write him off this early, that's blasphemy. That's crazy talk, in my opinion. And like I said, I think Bo will progress and get better as each week goes on, each game. You know what I mean? So, like I said, I think maybe Sean Payton put this game in Bo's hands just to see how he would play. Like, he called the plays, of course, but he's like, go, Bo, let's see what you got out there, game 1. And now after the game, they're going to go back and watch all the tape and explain to him what he did wrong, maybe, you know, and then maybe a different outcome again week 2. Maybe I feel like maybe they just gave him the reins of the whole team that game, and then see what he could do off of that.
Yeah, so, and editing core joins in and he says, I am really high on Stidham. I would rather have him in than Wilson. You know what? I'll be honest with you, editing. Like, I'm not super high on either one of those quarterbacks, but if, knock on wood, Bo Nix would happen to get hurt, I would much rather Stidham go in there, because Stidham is not the quote-unquote spark on offense that Sean Payton made him out to be last year when they were going through the whole Russell Wilson thing. But I still, to this day, if I ever ran into Sean Payton in the street for some freaking reason, that would be my first question. Why Zach Wilson? Like, why? Like, what did you see in him that made you say, I want this guy? I would have much rather them got another like undrafted rookie or something out of the draft, or
Sean
like, I don't get it.
Sean did say he sees like a project or like a project out of him. You remember? I don't know if you remember that before the season started. He sees him as a quarterback he could work with for the future. They drafted Bo, but me, I would rather Zach Wilson the other way. I know we've seen more of a Jarrett Stidham play, but we also seen Zach Wilson play, and we also seen Zach Wilson come out and beat us last year. And what was I gonna say? I also feel like, in my opinion, I feel like Zach's a little more mature, not like as in being in the NFL but more mature mindset. Like, I don't know if you've seen those interviews, 2 interviews between Stidham and Zach Wilson. A lot of people might overlook that, but when I listen to both them, I hear completely more mature talking in Zach Wilson and Stidham. I don't know. I don't really like Stidham, so like I said, I would prefer Zach over Jarrett Stidham if it came down to it.
Nah, I would disagree with you on that one. I would be more like editing said, and I would
Okay.
at least with Stidham. Stidham gives you a little bit more of a journeyman type of thing ish, you know, in
Yeah.
terms of I wouldn't say the ball would be safer because I've seen Jared Stidham when he had a chance to be. He fell flat on his face last year. When I'm telling you now, and for those of you that hadn't heard the story, I went to the Raiders game in Vegas in January, week 18, and I just didn't see it. Like I saw nothing that convinced me to say, "Hey, this guy should be the starter." I wanted the Broncos to throw in Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson was in full pad and gear, just standing on the sideline, even though he was inactive. I think he was inactive, but still, like I don't know. But this whole thing, I see what the thing is. You know what this kind of reminds me of?
What's that?
I this ever since Baker Mayfield left Cleveland, like he went to the Panthers, and that was a flop. That was a disaster. It was just as bad as Cleveland. And then he found this type of resurgence with the Rams. I don't know what happened, but maybe being under the tutelage of Sean McVay for those few weeks kind of like helped open a spark, because then he went from there and then he went to Tampa Bay where he is now. And now he is a powerhouse down there. And he's giving that division, the NFC South, a run for their money. And he's down there with Cousins, Trevor Lawrence, and
No, not Trevor. That's AFC.
I'm sorry, that's AFC. It's Cousins,
Derek Carr.
Thank you. Bryce Young is that's a whole different story. So let's just say Cousins and Derek Carr he's down there competing with for now. But my point here, folks, is that a lot of coaches think that they could take a player and put him on that type of trajectory. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that Zach Wilson is going to be like that. Every person is different. That's why you see a lot of these backup quarterbacks just constantly going between team to team. I mean, hell, Drew Lock right now is playing for the Giants, and me personally, he should be the starter.
Yeah, I said the same thing.
He should be the starter, and more than likely after this Sunday, he's probably going to help his case more in terms of starting. But the Giants, if I had to guess, not to get too much on topic here, folks, but they don't want to pay their golden goose, and that's really what Daniel Jones is. He's a really, really expensive quarterback to just ride the bench if he's not injured. So,
hey, we did it to Russ. So,
yeah, and Russ isn't even. And I guess we can kind of segue into week 2 here, Ty. And Russ isn't even going to be active. He's not going to play. Justin Fields is going to be the starting quarterback for the Steelers this week. And actually, I missed this comment here by Editing Core. He says, I completely disagree. The only difference between the interviews was Zach Wilson had no confidence in himself, while Stidham did.
No.
He also says that's what leads me to believe Stidham has a better mindset. He wants to fight for his position. Ty, your thoughts?
I disagree with that. I mean, that's your opinion. I respect everybody's opinion. I don't believe Zach had less confidence in himself. He was giving respect to Bo Nix. What I got out of it, he was giving respect to Bo Nix for being a rookie, learning the plays that quick, and earning the starting spot. On Jarrett Stidham's end, again, he's entitled to his opinion, but what I got from it was he said he could be a quarterback, or he's a starting quarterback in this league now, pretty much for any team, and he had that chance with the Raiders. You know, I mean, he had that chance to prove it with us, and he never proved it. Zach Wilson, yes, he was on the Jets, but he got thrown in a worse position than Jarrett Stidham did on the Raiders. So I respect your opinion, but I don't see it that way. I didn't see it that way.
Yeah. But going back to what we were talking about, looking forward to week 2 here, Ty, against the Steelers, they went and they just completely crushed Atlanta.
Mhm.
You thought the Broncos had a bad day at the office. I mean, that Atlanta offensive line, I've been hearing the word overrated so much about the Falcons after
Mm.
just one loss. And it wasn't just the fact that the Falcons lost, it's how they lost. You know, they literally got field goal out of their own
Yeah.
building.
Yep.
You know, Justin Fields didn't throw or run for a single touchdown. It was all
All
Chris
field.
Boswell. Yeah. And that's literally, if I'm not, you know what that reminded me of? A couple years ago, I think that's how the Steelers beat the Chiefs in a playoff game. They literally field goal their way
I
past
don't.
Kansas City.
I don't.
um, so that's what that reminded me of, and that was embarrassing in its own behalf. So with the Steelers coming to Denver, uh, it's going to be a hell of experience. And actually, before we get into that, I have some very, very great news for you, Ty, and all of you Broncos country fans out there.
What's that?
I am actually going to be in Denver for the uh, Broncos and Carolina Panthers game. It was the only game out of my schedule that I could go to, and I
Hey.
know that the Panthers are probably not going to be in a good position by that date. But it's going to be October 27th, if I'm not mistaken, the game day. So I'm going to fly into Denver the 2 days before that on a Friday, and I hope I'm able to go do all the things that I didn't do originally when I was there. I'm taking my nephew with me again, so me and him are going to go down there, and I hope to see. I never got to meet Mahai Mario, so I'm going to reach out to him, see if I can meet him. I never got to go to the bar, even though I stayed literally just down the street from it before. So I hope I can run into a whole bunch of people. Some of the people I see that do my favorite podcast. So crossing my fingers. But if you guys see me out there, you know, feel free to say hello. Pictures are $10 each. No, I'm just playing. But but no. But I just wanted to throw that out there.
That's awesome.
Maybe I could do something from the game. I'm not sure. I'll have to talk to Johnny about that. But as we know, hotel Wi-Fi, me working in a hotel is not always the greatest. So,
Yeah.
but
That's
we'll
why I
see.
said. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, I was gonna say
Yeah.
that's what I was gonna say with the when we go to the Jets game. Me and Jay, it's gonna. I don't know if we'll be able to go live either because, like you said, with hotel Wi-Fi and everything. So even though they went live last year out in the parking lot, so
Yeah, that was, and it was a pretty streamless
yeah.
podcast that Johnny and Isaiah
Mhm.
did. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But going and here editing says he's going to the Jets game too. Here, Ty. He says I'm also hitting the Jets game. Can't wait to watch and see how that
I,
game goes.
I think you're the one that we commented on Bleacher Report when we were talking about that. I'm pretty sure this is who that is.
Oh.
I'm almost 100%. So come look
He
for
also,
us if we go live.
yeah,
Come look for us.
he also says, I do hate to say it, but if our defense doesn't show up, we are getting folded by the Steelers. Their defense is better than the Seahawks, but I do hope that they win. Can win if they do. So the thing about that, you're not completely wrong here, editing core. Like their defense is better, like, but their pass rush. I mean, TJ Watt, as Ty
Yeah.
was alluding to earlier, I mean, that man is a human wrecking machine. So that offensive line is going to have their hands
Yeah.
full trying
Garrett Bowles.
to, Garrett Bowles is definitely going to have his hands full trying to contain TJ Watt and that whole Pittsburgh defensive line.
Yeah.
Their secondary, the only thing that worries me about their secondary is Minka Fitzpatrick, because
And Joe
Minka,
Porter.
yeah, Minka specifically for me, because Minka is very, very he's a very good lurker. He's very, very good at picking people off. It's a miracle that he didn't pick off Kirk Cousins this past Sunday, and I really hope that streak continues. But if you can get past Pittsburgh's front defensive line and challenge their secondary, I think that the Broncos can make it a really bad day in the office for them, because
Mhm.
and you guys have heard me say this before, the best way to beat a really good defense is to wear them out. And if the Broncos offense can play some safe football and not throw the ball willy-nilly and, be intercepted twice, they can win this game, even if they have to win it by field goals,
Yeah.
which don't be surprised if that's what it comes down to, if it's a low scoring game, because it may take Bo Nix more than just 1 week to get acclimated to life in the NFL. And that's really what it was compared to this past Sunday. And it can happen, but at the same time, Ty, he's going to need help from his wide receivers. We cannot. His wide receivers have to do a better job at getting open, and they have to catch the freaking ball. The running game has to improve. They can't keep getting stuffed at the line, and this is definitely going to be a harder match because Pittsburgh, their defensive line is crazy good.
Yeah.
So our offensive line is really going to have to have their hands in the dirt and get those lanes open so that the boys can run and get some yardage in and give Bo Nix a break every now and then.
Yep.
As far as our defense goes, I mean, our defense kind of folded to Justin Fields last year. I saw it here in Chicago, but when the proper after that halftime, when the changes were made, they came out and they made Justin Fields look silly. And the defense helped propel that comeback and win that game. And that was when Justin Fields, like for Pittsburgh right now, their most dangerous weapon is George Pickens. So, and if Pat Surtain is stuck on him, you better believe that George Pickens is not going to have the same type of day he had against the Falcons.
Nope.
And that was crazy seeing in itself, seeing as how they actually had Justin Simmons. So I thought Justin Simmons was going to pick off Justin Fields on a couple of those plays, and I'm surprised he didn't. But that could also be Justin Simmons getting acclimated to a whole new defensive scheme down in Atlanta. But as in terms for this, if you take away his best weapon, which is George Pickens, and you make him, shoot the ball somewhere else, then that opens the chance up for the secondary to get another interception. Now, what needs to happen is when the Broncos take a lead, whether it's even if it's just 3 points, they have to earn and keep that lead. You know what I'm saying? They had a lead over Seattle by doing things that have probably not been done in a long time. And unfortunately, the offense just gave it up. And the defense, by one bad call, was probably a play away from taking that game back and maybe winning that game by a very, very short margin. We will never know, as we said earlier. However, those mistakes can be corrected, and they can be corrected hopefully sooner than later. Because as I told Ty before we went live on the air today, what we cannot do going into week 2 is lose to the Steelers, because that is going to drop so much momentum, and then that finger is going to start spinning around as to who to blame. Do you blame Bo Nix? Do you blame Sean Payton? Do you blame Vance Joseph, the defense, the offense, the wide receiver? I mean, it is just going to cause so many questions, and it's just going to send Broncos country into this giant pandemonium that is totally unnecessary. Ty, your thoughts?
My thoughts for the game, like you were saying, I think the biggest thing we have to do, obviously, PS2 is going to shut down George Pickens. Their next best receiver, I think, is Van Jefferson, if I'm not mistaken. They got Pat Fryer move, but I think we have to stop the run. We were having trouble stopping Kenneth Walker. So I think we really have to stop Najee Harris and Jalen Warren. And if we do that, I think we can compete and keep up with them. And like you said, even if it's field goal after field goal, a win's a win. And I actually think Bo Nix, this will tell a lot this game. It's his first home game in front of home fans. So I believe that could also possibly help him too. And everybody on that team, as you said, the receivers, everybody needs to play better, though. Everybody, they have to catch every ball. You know what I mean? They got to find open holes. Javonte needs to really step up, or I'm really going to give up on that guy. I won't play him in fantasy the rest of the year, nothing. Yeah, everybody just needs to step up, man, and play. And like I said, Justin Fields last year, like you said, he was killing us in the first half. And that one fumble recovery by, I think, Jonathan Cooper turned it all around. If that defense, Cooper and Baron Browning and Nick Benito, whoever's out there, if they get to Justin Fields, I think they'll put him in a panic like they did last year in the second half. And I think we can come away with the win.
Pretty easy. And not to cut you off, Ty, but since you mentioned fantasy and fantasy is in your name, is
Yeah.
there and this is a segment that we're actually working on that we're going to bring to you guys, and we wanted to test it out first. We did a little bit of it last week. So Ty,
And I was wrong.
this is your time to shine as Ty Y the fantasy guy. Who, if you had to tell people, our listeners out there, who to pick out of Broncos country or any players in general, if you want, what are your thoughts on stardom or sit 'em?
All right. Well, I would. All right. I'm gonna do 3 players, and so everybody knows when the segment when I get better at it, I'll actually have stats and stuff and all that. I'm winging it right now, but for stardom, I would probably. Let me think. I would probably start off the top of my head. I would start Najee Harris probably because from last week, obviously you've seen we couldn't stop Kenny Walker. If it's like that, Najee Harris should have a big game this week. If the defensive line and they don't stop the run, he should have a big game. I would honestly, I still would start George Pickens too if you have him. I know he's going up against PS2, but I still believe he can have a big game. And then on the Broncos, I would say maybe I'm feeling like Josh Reynolds maybe this week could have a big game because Pittsburgh don't have a good secondary cornerback. I think it's just Joey Porter, and then I don't know who they're. I mean, they got Minka, but I would probably start Josh Reynolds if you have him too.
Ty Y the fantasy guy, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ty.
I need to go off some stats and stuff. I don't have none of that written down. So, but
hey, no worries, my friend. Your opinion is definitely appreciated. Editing core jumps in and he says, Vel is my pick for a flex wide receiver. No one else is worthy. I say Nix loves Vel more than seemingly anyone else. So to kind of piggyback off of this into what we talked about earlier in the beginning of the show, they got rid of Tim Patrick, and we have, correct me if I'm wrong, but we have yet to see Troy Franklin suit up for a game. So I know he had a really rough training camp. I know he didn't have the best preseason if he played any at all, because I can't honestly think of a couple a highlight or something off the top of my head from the preseason. So every single with every loss that going forward is really gonna put that light under him on Sean Payton and saying, was getting Tim Patrick really the best decision? I know obviously you weren't gonna cut Troy Franklin, but if he's the complement piece to Bo Nix, kind of like Tyreek Hill was to Patrick Mahomes, for example. I'm not comparing them, I'm just using them as a hypothetical. But then you need to get him out there if that's what it's going to take to get Bo Nix not just accommodated, but to feel comfortable in the pocket and know that his guy's out there when he needs him, So I know Vel is proud. I didn't see him on any of the analyst players like stardom, sit-em category because I read a lot of those every week. But I didn't see any Broncos players. The only Broncos players I saw that you probably shouldn't start, as Ty alluded to earlier, was Javonte Williams.
Yeah.
He went from being on everybody's start list last week to everybody's don't start this
I'm
week.
not nope.
And as I told Ty at the beginning of the show, I actually dropped Javonte.
Till he proves to me, man. I'm sitting him on the bench, and I want to piggyback off what you said about Troy Franklin before I forget. That's why Denver drafted him. He was there at that pick, knowing that he was Bo's #1 target in college at Oregon. That's why everybody should notice. That's why Denver drafted him. They said that's why they drafted him, because there would be a connection there. And as you said, and I said, they're not, like I said, I feel like they're not using players properly. And even though he's a rookie, I still think he should have been out there week 1 to see if they still have that connection. It could be there, before it's too late. You know what I'm saying? So, like you said, I want to see him suit up. I want to see Troy Franklin play. And if it's there, if that connection is still there from college.
Yeah, and then Mims Jr., I mean, aside from being used as a punt returner,
He
didn't really see the field. So
No, it was
like,
Vele, Reynolds, and Sutton.
mhm. And Dulcich, the same thing. I thought Dulcich was going to be in for a big day, and he's been
No,
pretty irrelevant in terms of I don't even know if I think he caught like one or maybe two passes
yeah,
all game because I did hear his name like here and there. So there's like a bunch of players where you kind of like you were left scratching your head, like, where are they? You
where
know, and why aren't they
what
playing their supposed positions?
is that on Sean Payton, or what I mean? That's where the questions start coming in. Like, you got to. I'm not a coach, and I never will be a coach. I never claim to be a coach, but you have to utilize your players correctly. And Sean Payton knows that. He's been a coach for what, 18, 19 years, something like that. He's a smart guy. They consider him a top 10 coach ever. And I don't know. We'll see, I guess, week 2, but I hope players start getting utilized more. And I did say in the group chat, I don't know if you've seen that, Don, but
Mhm.
Payton did say they plan on utilizing Marvin Mims this weekend. Yeah, this Sunday a lot more. So I read that on an article. I forget what article it was, but it was reported that's what he said. So
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things that have to go right for the Broncos this weekend, Ty. It has been what feels like forever since the Broncos won a home game. If I'm not mistaken, I think their last home game victory was was it the Chargers week 17? Or I'm not. I don't think so.
no,
No, they played them on the road.
yeah,
I can't even tell you the last
yeah,
home victory that the Broncos had. It was supposed to have been the Christmas game against the
yeah.
Patriots. As
But
we all know, that didn't happen.
Johnny and Isaiah ruined that for us. So
Yeah, and they were at that game, correct?
yeah.
Johnny was out being the Grinch that night, apparently.
Hey, he made a
Um,
highlight too.
yeah, he was on the highlight. If you guys go and look at the NFL highlight for that game, you'll see Johnny and Isaiah in the crowd for a few seconds. It's freaking amazing. I made a GIF out of it. I share it from time to time
Yeah,
on our team on our group chat. But like this Broncos country is just so starved of not being able to win at home. Since the Russell Wilson era, we have had
yeah,
more embarrassing losses at home than wins. And
yep,
it's just something. So when I go to Denver next month, the thing that I couldn't get when I went to see the Broncos here in Chicago or when I went to go see them in Vegas earlier this year is you don't get that energy you feel at Mile High. If you guys have never been to a Broncos game at home, I highly suggest if you do anything else in your life, you go to a Broncos game in Denver because it is the most amazing experience. Not just being surrounded by your fellow Bronconians, as I call them, which is not a word, but I don't care. But just feeling the energy, the momentum, seeing the history that is Broncos country. And if you're lucky enough to even be spoiled at halftime with Broncos legends, first time I ever seen Shannon Sharp in person, even though I was up in the nosebleeds, he looked pretty small from up there, but I got
no,
to see him. I didn't
yeah,
even know he was there. You know, he was in the house with a couple of other players from the 98 football team. And if I ever met John Elway in person, I'd probably faint. Um, but it's just something that Broncos country needs. They need reassurance.
yep,
And I should say we need reassurance. We need to see the bowl from preseason. We need to see that confidence. And we just need to know that we don't want to keep hanging by the edge of our seats wondering, is Bo Nix the guy? The question that everybody that's not a Broncos fan has been asking us since the draft. And we keep saying what Sean Payton has been putting out there. Yes, he's the guy. I handpicked him. I tricked what did he say? There was a rumor going around that he tricked Minnesota into
yeah,
taking McCarthy instead of him. And unfortunately, we won't see McCarthy suit up until next year to see which one of those were right. However, it's just kind of like this wasn't what we were expecting. And it sucks having to sit here and talk to you guys about how we're feeling. And I'm pretty sure we're not the only ones that feel the same in that situation. But like I said, it's okay to be angry. It's okay to be pissed. But what you don't want to do in just after 1 week of football going into two is
give up.
is give up, start freaking the hell out and start calling for fire. I'm not saying don't blame anybody. You definitely should blame somebody, especially if everybody that goes up to that podium on Sunday, if the Broncos don't win this game, and start saying, well, I don't know, you got to talk to coach. I don't know, you got to talk to Bo Nix. They start, putting the blame elsewhere. Nobody raises their hand and say, hey, man, that's on me. I got to do better. I got to be better. And not just because it's like the right thing to say, but because that person knows, hey, that was my fault. That's my fault. I didn't catch a pass. It's my fault that I gave up a touchdown or whatever. Whatever faults happen on Sunday, the Broncos have to own up to it and fix the damn problem, whether it's a player, whether it's the coach. Doesn't flip and matter. If it's broken and needs to be fixed, it needs to be fixed right away.
I still, speaking of that, like people stepping up and all, I don't know if you've seen that tweet or whatever, like Patrick Surtain sticking up for Bo Nix, how people were already calling him out.
Mm-hmm.
I actually believe, I've been thinking about this since last week, I actually believe the whole team is all behind Bo Nix, too, just from reading that tweet. And from all the hate Bo's been getting online, Twitter, I haven't seen all of it, but I've been reading some of it. And from an analysis and stuff, I believe that even though it wasn't a win, but I believe this team is strong inside that locker room, and they're all going to help get Bo up there and help him get his confidence up and help us get wins. I was thinking about that today. I seen that yesterday, I think it was, but I believe they're actually all behind him as a rookie quarterback. And I still believe it was the right pick. Whether they tricked Minnesota or not, I believe that Nix was the perfect pick. So
yeah, so going into our predictions for this Sunday's game, because I remember last week we wrote everything down. I actually have the Broncos winning this game, and Ty, so did you. So let me start off with you, Ty. What's the one thing that if you could tell Bo Nix or anybody on this team to say, hey, you guys need to do blank if you want to win this game, what is that blank?
Don't throw the triple coverage to Cortland Sutton in the corner. No, I'm kidding. No, as soon as you said that question, I started laughing. No, I would honestly tell, like you said, breathe and relax. I know you're a rookie. I know you have a lot of pressure on you. I may be just a random fan, but honestly, I'm behind you. All Broncos country's behind you. Yeah, some wants to give up already, but block out them haters. Go out there, throw some balls, you know what I mean, and get a win for Broncos country and show everybody why you were picked at 12 and that you could do it.
My thing would probably go to Bo Nix. See, the one thing when I was watching the Bears game, and they showed Will Levis, and even though he's not technically a rookie, I think he's in his second year probably.
Yeah.
But the one thing that most quarterbacks do and they need to do is when they're down or when they do something that's not, whether maybe it's a turnover or whatever, they go in there and, they keep that fire lit under the team's ass. Hey, it's okay. That's on me. Hey, you need to do, hey, we're going to win this. Hey, work that shit out. We're going to win this. Get back in it. Get your head in the game. That motivation, so we need to see that from Bo Nix.
Uh-huh.
And the only other thing I could probably, if I could say to him, is you got to learn, trust your offensive line and read the play. If you see that Garrett Bowles is struggling with TJ Watt or whatever, and you need to use Dulcich or Troutman for, just kind of like a kick block or whatever, whatever you need to do to get, to kind of give you whatever you need to do to give you an extra second, especially if you're going to try to run a play that's like a shotgun or whatever, or if you're going to try to dance in the pocket, you need to learn from your mistakes. If you get sacked, hey, quick read what it will happen. Because it's unfortunate, as much as I'd like to say it's not going to happen, and unfortunately is. That's just because TJ Watt is a really talented player, and that guy, he knows what the hell he's doing. So he just basically Bo Nix needs to get a W in Denver. That's like the number one thing, because we cannot go into 0-2. We need to get a win from Pittsburgh. I think the Broncos can beat this team. They've beat Justin Fields before. the Bears defense, while it wasn't as formidable as what they got coming in the Steelers uniform, they were pretty good last year too. And they were up, what was it, 23 to 0, 28 or something like that by the half. And they came back and won that game. And it was a teamwork by both the defense and the offense. So they beat Justin Fields once. They can do it again. You know, and granted, we don't have Kareem Jackson anymore. We don't have Justin Fields anymore, but we have other players that are
Justin Simmons.
Yeah. What did I say?
Said Fields.
Yeah, Justin Fields. See, that I got so many Justins on my mind. I got him confused.
It's all right.
Justin Simmons in the secondary, but it can be done.
It could be done.
Yeah, and Dreamweaver saying he says Bo's gonna throw for 2 touchdowns against the Steelers. I really do hope so, man. I really do hope so. And he also says at least 3 turnovers for Pittsburgh.
If that,
I can actually see that, because in one snap last Sunday, Justin Fields just fumbled the ball.
Yeah.
And they were just like a second away from giving the Falcons the ball back. So it can happen.
Yeah, if that happens, I'll buy you a beer at the game.
You know, as we get closer to the end of the show here, guys, just to kind of recap our point, Justin Fields or even Russell Wilson are not as intimidating as people think they are, especially people outside of Pittsburgh. And I'm pretty sure, if I had to guess, I don't think Russell Wilson is exactly 100% hurt, because I didn't see anything from the preseason that made me believe that he did. This could be just a thing, and this is just a hot take here, wild guess, but it's probably a thing where Justin Fields probably gives the Steelers a better chance at winning in terms of Russell Wilson. And the only way I'll get proven wrong on that is that after this game, that Russell Wilson goes back to being the starter whenever it is he heals up, you know. So, but either case, either one of those quarterbacks is going to have a really tough day at the office. And I really do hope that the Broncos defense learn from their mistakes from last game in terms of, hey, whatever you find that's working against the opposing team, keep that strategy going. Do not change. Don't let off. Don't give them that benefit of, coming back into this game. Ty, your final thoughts.
My final thoughts is on the game coming up, contain Fields from running, obviously. Don't leave him use his legs. I don't think he's the best thrower. So I think Denver will have that locked down. We got to stop, like we talked about, we got to stop TJ Watt every play. Even like you said, if you got to get a little chip block in there with a tight end, even a running back, whatever, call that, get it going. Because I think TJ Watt's going to really bring a lot this game. And like I said earlier, that's my biggest worry this whole game come Sunday. That's what I've been after I seen him Sunday against the Falcons. That's the first thing I started thinking of. And I was like, hopefully they come up with a game plan for that to stop him. So I think we come out with a win this game. I do. And I think it'll be a close one, though. Field goal, 7 points. And I think Bo Nix, he'll throw touchdown, 2 touchdowns, probably an interception, and then but we will win this game. You gotta have faith, and I have faith.
Definitely. Well, guys, that's gonna do it for today's show. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Again, it is always a pleasure to be able to come on here and talk football with you guys. Hope you guys have taken to heart everything that Ty and I had in store for you guys. Again, just to go over a couple of things with you folks, please make sure you like and subscribe on the Orange and Blue Network. Share, comment, like. Please, all of your support is appreciated. Please make sure you, if you're listening to us on audio, wherever it is you're listening to, please 5-star review, subscribe, hit that live notification button so you guys know when we go live. And again, as I said in the past, we are in partnership with the MHRT network. So this is a simulcast. We are being broadcast on both networks at the same time. How freaking cool is that, I ask you? Subscribe, share, comment, and like them over at MHRT. They have a plethora of great shows just like Orange and Blue Network has a plethora of great shows with some more great content coming to you guys, by the way. Also, quick refresher for you guys. Please make sure you join us for the pregame show on the Orange and Blue and MHRT networks before the game goes live this Sunday. And stick around for the postgame show to hear our thoughts as well on both networks. Ty, anything to add before we get out of here?
No, let's go Broncos. Let's get this win and keep the faith, everybody. Seriously, keep the faith. Seriously, don't give up on Bo Nix. Don't give up on Payton yet. Anybody. It's a long season.
Yes, sir. Definitely agree.
Stay
positive. Exactly. So, ladies and gentlemen of Broncos country, for Ty the Fantasy Guy, Ty Y the Fantasy Guy, let me correct myself. I'm Adan Diaz. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been Broncos Talk on the Orange and Blue and MHRT networks. So long, everybody. And as always, go Broncos. Let's ride.
Go Broncos.